Hello, and welcome to our channel. In today's video, we're diving into the chilling story of Ted Bundy, whose charm masked unimaginable evil. We'll explore his twisted psyche, the tragic stories of his victims, and the path that led to his ultimate demise. If you find this story compelling and want more on infamous criminals, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring you more in-depth and engaging content. Thank you for watching, and let's get started. Ted Bundy, born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, seemed an unlikely candidate for the horrors he would unleash. Raised initially by his grandparents to hide the shame of his illegitimate birth, Ted grew up believing his mother, Louise Cowell, was his sister. This family deception and the confusion it wrought sowed the seeds of Bundy's complex and disturbed personality. From an early age, Bundy exhibited signs of deep-seated issues. He was intelligent and well-mannered, but there were dark undercurrents. Neighbors recalled a young Ted who would spy on them through windows and manipulate younger children. His interest in the macabre surfaced early, with an obsession for detective magazines and crime novels, particularly those featuring violent depictions of sexual assault and murder. Despite these early warning signs, Bundy maintained a veneer of normalcy. He was a bright student, active in church and social circles, and even served as a volunteer at a Seattle suicide hotline, where he was known for his empathy and effectiveness. His charm and good looks allowed him to blend seamlessly into society, masking the growing darkness within. Bundy's relationship with Diane Edwards, a pseudonym to protect her identity, marked a turning point in his life. The intensity of their relationship and its abrupt end left Bundy heartbroken and vengeful. This rejection is believed to have fueled his hatred for women who resembled Edwards, young, attractive, and with long, dark hair parted in the middle. Bundy's descent into madness began in earnest in the early 1970s. His first confirmed attack occurred in January 1974, when he entered the basement apartment of Karen Sparks, an 18-year-old student at the University of Washington. He brutally assaulted her with a metal rod from her bed frame, leaving her with permanent physical and psychological damage. This was only the beginning. In February 1974, Linda Ann Healy, another University of Washington student, vanished from her apartment. Healy was a popular radio announcer and a dedicated student. Her disappearance baffled investigators, but they would later discover that Bundy had bludgeoned her unconscious and carried her out of the house, leaving no trace. Bundy's method was chillingly consistent. He would approach his victims in public places, often feigning an injury or impersonating an authority figure. His charm and good looks made him appear trustworthy, allowing him to lure his victims to his Volkswagen Beetle. There, he would incapacitate them, often with a crowbar, and transport them to a secondary location where he would commit his horrific acts of rape and murder. The disappearances escalated. In the span of a few months in 1974, Bundy abducted and murdered at least 8 women in Washington and Oregon. Among them were Donna Gail Manson, a 19-year-old student at the Evergreen State College, and Susan Rancourt, a 19-year-old Central Washington State College student. Both vanished without a trace, their bodies never recovered. Bundy's reign of terror continued as he moved to Utah to attend law school. There, he abducted and murdered several young women, including Melissa Smith, the 17-year-old daughter of the police chief of Midvale, and Laura M., a 17-year-old who disappeared after leaving a Halloween party. Their bodies were found beaten, raped, and strangled, discarded in remote locations. It was during this period that Bundy's luck began to wane. On November 8, 1974, Carol Duranch narrowly escaped his clutches. Bundy had posed as a police officer and lured her to his car, but she managed to fight him off and flee. Her testimony would later prove crucial in Bundy's arrest and conviction. Bundy's first major arrest came in August 1975 in Salt Lake City. During a routine traffic stop, police discovered suspicious items in his car: handcuffs, a crowbar, a ski mask, and a pair of pantyhose with eye holes cut out. Though initially arrested for evading an officer, the items linked him to the attempted kidnapping of Carol Duranch. In February 1976, Bundy was convicted of Duranche's kidnapping and sentenced to 15 years in prison. However, this was not the end. In June 1977, Bundy escaped from a courthouse library in Aspen, Colorado, by jumping from a second-story window. He was recaptured after 8 days but managed another escape in December by crawling through a hole in the ceiling of his cell and walking out of the jail. Bundy's final spree of terror occurred in Florida. On January 15, 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University in Tallahassee. Armed with a club, he bludgeoned and strangled 2 women, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, and severely injured 2 others. The attack was brutal and swift, lasting less than 15 minutes. His rampage continued later that night when he attacked another woman, Cheryl Thomas, in her apartment, leaving her with permanent injuries. Just weeks later, Bundy abducted and murdered 12-year-old Kimberly Leach in Lake City, Florida. Her remains were found 7 weeks later in a state park, adding to the horror of Bundy's legacy. Bundy's final arrest came on February 15, 1978, when he was pulled over by police in Pensacola, Florida. This time, he could not charm his way out of trouble. Bundy's trial for the Chi Omega murders was a media sensation. Bundy, ever the narcissist, chose to represent himself, relishing the spotlight. Despite his efforts, the evidence against him was overwhelming. He was convicted and sentenced to death. In a separate trial for the murder of Kimberly Leach, Bundy was again convicted and received another death sentence. His behavior in court was erratic and disturbing, often addressing the judge and jury with grandiose speeches and a chilling lack of remorse. While on death row, Bundy began to confess to additional murders, eventually admitting to killing at least 30 women across 7 states. These confessions were strategic, attempts to delay his execution by offering more information. However, his manipulations could not save him indefinitely. Bundy's execution was scheduled for January 24, 1989. In his final days, he granted interviews, attempting to explain his actions and blame pornography for his violent urges. These last-ditch efforts to redeem himself fell flat, seen as another manipulation by a master deceiver. At 7:16 a.m. on January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison. His last words were, "I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." Outside the prison, crowds cheered and set off fireworks, celebrating the end of a reign of terror that had haunted the nation for over a decade. Ted Bundy's story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a charming facade. His ability to blend in and gain the trust of his victims before brutally ending their lives remains a terrifying testament to the depths of human evil. Bundy's legacy is one of horror and fascination, his name forever etched in the annals of criminal history as one of the most notorious serial killers the world has ever known. Ted Bundy's psychological profile is a labyrinth of contradictions and horrors. He was a man who could switch from charming and intelligent to cold and calculating in an instant. Bundy's personality was multifaceted, making it difficult for those around him to see the monster lurking beneath the surface. Bundy's narcissism was evident in his behavior and actions. He had an inflated sense of self-importance and believed he was above the law. This arrogance was on full display during his trials, where he chose to represent himself and often addressed the court with a condescending tone. His charm and good looks made him a master manipulator, able to gain the trust of his victims and those around him with ease. Bundy's ability to appear normal and even likable was one of his most dangerous traits. He used his charm to disarm his victims and lure them into vulnerable situations. His demeanor was so convincing that many who met him found it hard to believe he was capable of such atrocities. At the core of Bundy's crimes was a deep-seated need for control and sadistic pleasure. He derived satisfaction from the fear and pain of his victims, often torturing them before killing them. Bundy would revisit the crime scenes, sometimes days later, to engage in necrophilic acts with the decomposing bodies. This need to dominate and dehumanize his victims was a driving force behind his heinous acts. Bundy's crimes were meticulously planned, and he took great pleasure in outsmarting law enforcement. His ability to evade capture for so long was a testament to his cunning and strategic thinking. He would often change his appearance and move to different states to avoid detection, leaving a trail of victims in his wake. Ted Bundy's story is a harrowing reminder of the evil that can hide behind a charming facade. His ability to manipulate and deceive, combined with his need for control and sadistic pleasure, allowed him to terrorize multiple states and claim the lives of countless young women. Despite his outward normalcy, Bundy's mind harbored deep-seated hatred and a chilling capacity for violence. His crimes were calculated acts of brutality aimed at exerting absolute control and inflicting unimaginable suffering. The true horror of his actions lies not only in their brutality but in the cold, methodical way he executed them, often returning to his crime scenes to further desecrate his victims. The impact of Bundy's atrocities extended far beyond his immediate victims. The fear he instilled in communities, the grief he caused to families, and the psychological scars left on survivors like Carol Duranch are a testament to the widespread devastation he wrought. Bundy's capture, trials, and execution brought some measure of justice, but they could never undo the harm he inflicted. His name remains synonymous with terror, a symbol of the monstrous potential that can reside within a seemingly ordinary individual. The innocent lives lost to Bundy's reign of terror should never be forgotten. Karen Sparks, brutally attacked and left with permanent injuries. Linda and Healy, a promising student whose life was cut short. Donna Gale Manson, disappeared without a trace. Susan Rancourt, a diligent student never seen again. Melissa Smith, the daughter of a police chief, murdered in cold blood. Laura M., vanished after a Halloween party, her life cruelly ended. Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, victims of the horrific Chi Omega attack. Kimberly Leach, a young girl whose future was stolen. These names, and the many others who suffered at Bundy's hands, serve as a solemn reminder of the lives cut tragically short by his evil. Their stories are a testament to the enduring impact of his crimes and the necessity of vigilance in the face of such darkness. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you found this exploration of Ted Bundy's dark legacy as compelling as we did. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest uploads. Your support really means a lot to us and helps us continue creating engaging content. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.